When it comes to the majority of anime, the focus often lies on a protagonist striving to conquer challenges, grow stronger, and ultimately triumph over a villainous force. Not that there's anything wrong with that, mind you. These shows undeniably fulfill their intended purpose, offering captivating power systems, thrilling fight scenes, and intricately crafted worlds that prompt fans to engage in collective analysis and discussion. However, occasionally we encounter an anime that deviates from the norm, presenting a unique purpose and message, and in the case of ZOM 100, a message of learning how to die. This is ZOM 100.
Over the edge, feel like I'm floating through the air. The pain I felt is paid for, all is said and done. Oh, I am restricted, fixed upon the web. I need to kick the habit that my mind is breathing in. Break out, I've got to see. Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
Episode 1 of this anime massively sheds light on a prevalent issue within Japan, clearly weaving it through the eyes of our protagonist, Akira. From the outset, the series portrays Akira as a bright and ambitious young man, eagerly striving to leave a mark in the company he has just joined. And of course, there's that cute girl he's taken a liking to. However, the turning point occurs immediately after a joyous celebration with his colleagues where Akira realizes he won't be returning home. In fact, he won't see the comfort of his home for the next grueling 48 hours. Albeit hyperbolic in its delivery, the writer portrays the challenges and pressures faced by workers in a society where overwork is all too common. Through striking visuals and emotional resonance, the episode drives home the harsh reality of sacrificing personal time and well-being for the sake of work.
This relentless overwork takes its toll on poor Akira, transforming him into a zombie. Not a literal zombie, but corporate zombie, that is. And let's be honest, who could really blame him? Despite the enticing perks like paid vacation, sick days, and mental health days, no one dares to take them due to the overwhelming pressure ingrained in the toxic work culture. A culture that is so twisted that even Akira's own co-workers engage in very cutthroat competition, resorting to very, very unconventional means. I mean, remember that scene where the guy casually drops a line, "Talk to me when you piss blood"? Yikes, it's quite a disturbing moment. But hey, amidst all this chaos, Akira clings on to a glimmer of hope, his crush. Maybe, just maybe, pursuing her could be his ticket out of this soul-draining work environment. A moment of silence for the heart of Akira.
Given enough time in such a harsh and depressing environment like that of Akira's, it's no wonder that the world can quickly become black and lifeless, and with no sense of happiness in sight, eventually his dark thoughts begin to take over.
ああ、これ、邪魔だな。これがなかったら、明日会社、行かなくて済むのに。
But just when it seems like the darkness is closing in for good, the show takes an interesting twist. The world is jolted by the sudden emergence of zombies. Now, in most circumstances, a pandemic of such a scale will shatter any individual's existence, reducing their reality to rubble. Yet, paradoxically, in Akira's case, this grim scenario becomes a catalyst for a new beginning, as he sees himself free from the shackles that is corporate Japan and realizes he can finally confess to the woman he loves.
3年分の思いを伝えずに後悔するくらいなら
However, fate would have other plans. As he stands outside her apartment, Akira comes to face with the object of his affection, now a deteriorating figure of what was once dear to him.
マジでめちゃめちゃあなたのことが大好きでした さようなら
A harsh experience that would ultimately wake something up within Akira.
60年だろうがやりたいことをやれる時間はあまりにも短いだったら俺は
Now, the pilot episode did a fantastic job of setting the stage of what this show is all about. A show about doing what you've always wanted to, but couldn't because of your work responsibilities. Episode 2 takes a sharp turn from its predecessor, not only in tone but also in its artistic direction. While episode 1 had its occasional comic relief, it predominantly delved into a shadowy realm, delving deep into the human psyche to portray mental struggles in a visceral and intense manner. It's evident that the writer tapped into some really dark corners to craft some stark and graphic depictions. On the flip side, episode 2 takes a complete U-turn. Here we see Akira now navigating a world teeming with zombies, embarking on a rather unexpected mission. Going for a beer run?
俺はとにかくビールだ決めたのだ
It's a complete shift from the grimness of the previous episode, introducing an element of humor and lightheartedness that contrasts starkly with the earlier exploration of mental anguish. The show keeps riding this wave of lightheartedness as Akira ingeniously shimmies down his apartment building, unexpectedly crossing paths with 2 other survivors. These 2 newcomers are taken aback of the situation before instinctively trying to help him, but they're left baffled when they realize he's intentionally shimmying down and heading to the market for a casual shopping spree. Akira then parts ways, leaving the survivors perplexed by his rather nonchalant demeanor, all while he embarks on his errand turn mission, which includes picking up a thing or 2 for them.
できればトイレの紙もダブルで
Upon reaching the marketplace, yet another survivor enters the scene. This time, it's accompanied by a visually attractive woman. But what sets this interaction apart from the previous encounter is the unmistakable aura of capability exuded by the woman standing before Akira. Her presence speaks volumes, projecting strength and confidence. And boy, does she prove it in a dramatic fashion. Akira's world momentarily shifts as she expertly employs a judo-style maneuver to swiftly slam him out of harm's way, narrowly saving him from a careening bus. Despite the visual wear and tear and honestly probably nursing the sting of rejection, Akira maintains his unyielding sense of joy. Now, I must admit, this is kind of where the point where the show sort of lost me for a moment. While I wholeheartedly grasp the importance of infusing humor, it seems a bit paradoxical for it to take such a prominent front seat. After all, we are in the midst of a zombie apocalypse, a scenario that should consistently underscore the gravity of a world spiraling into chaos. Yet, the show seems so insistent on
ただいま買いました晩酌でも
It was right here at this particular moment in the show that I came to a realization. The show needed to establish me as a constant to Akira's notably lighthearted demeanor and the somewhat whimsical portrayal of the zombies. This groundwork was crucial to hiding the impact of this particular scene, allowing it to carry a far greater weight. The shift in tone, the adoption of a darker color palette, and the genuine shock etched across Akira's face collectively serve as a stark reminder of the abysmal and grim nature of the world they inhabit. Or maybe I'm just biased towards dark, serious content.
Wake me up inside
The subsequent scene unfolds, portraying the profound effect this world had on Akira.
気にしてる暇はないんだな。
He revisits his 100 things to do before I die journal, only this time, the entries aren't centered around only superficial or frivolous desires. Instead, they're centered on matters of true importance: family, friends, and meaningful relationships. Episode 2 made a sudden shift in tonality at the end. For a while, I thought it was going to be a comedy show with some light touches of serious and engaging moments. This is supported by many things like how the zombies are covered in paint and how just over the top the action scenes are.
Seriously?
Thus leading me to believe that this was a show whose message was like that of Larry the Lobster.
Look, guys! My advice wasn't meant to be taken literally. I meant to live life to the fullest, not to maim yourselves.
And while episode 2 lightly touched on the strings of my heart, it can never fully prepare me for what is episode 3.
Akira!
Episode 3 bears a striking resemblance to the third episode of HBO's The Last of Us. By that I mean, this is the show's magnum opus. Furthermore, it's the episode that cements my grasp on the author's actual message. This revelation begins with Akira meticulously sifting through his trove of text messages from friends he had long neglected in the past due to work. The next few shots portray Akira visiting himself, fiddling around his apartment, throwing darts, and just doing about anything really. At first, I thought it was a really creative film-like direction to take, and it is, but as soon as he steps outside and recalls why he was able to get messages in the first place, I realized that Akira wasn't fiddling around because of boredom, but rather he was avoiding something in particular, as for the first time, Akira had to think about a friend he had lost long ago.
やめりゃいいじゃんそんな会社
ケンチョお前は簡単にくたばるわけねえよな
The show transitions, focusing on Akira's friend trapped amid zombies in a decaying building and supplies running low. As despair looms and breaths quicken, he closes his eyes, seemingly embracing fate, but then a memory emerges of someone once dear to him.
俺なんでこんな時にあいつのことなんか
So when his phone suddenly rang, Kencho, Akira's friend, begins to shed a tear as he picks up the call. And the grimness is suddenly gone, cause man, Akira is full of energy and spirit. And despite Kencho's warning about not coming to save him due to his Mission Impossible scenario, Akira jumps on his bike and rushes to go and save his lost friend.
大丈夫大丈夫とりあえず住所送っといて
The show keeps riding on this momentum, revealing more about their history, as Akira spilled the beans about how his and Kencho's school days vastly differed, how Kencho was a tall, cool dude and practically the king of popularity, and handsome to boot. College didn't dim his shine either, as he went to rock the real estate game, and oh, turns out he was quite the womanizer too, it seems.
まあそうだ見ろよ今の彼女現役のモデルさんだぜ週末は彼女とパリに弾丸
引き換え当時の俺は
But what was interesting was how the show has to see the contrasting difference between Kencho's and Akira's lives. Kencho's life seemed amazing, while Akira's life seemed like it was stuck in some horrible storm. So it's no wonder that all the boating from Kencho would eventually cause a sudden but harsh outburst from Akira eventually.
大将お会計
The next few scenes in this episode did more than sell the show to me. It made me deeply love and appreciate the direction and writing of what the show wanted to achieve. And I know I've held this part long enough about where's his business, about learning how to die and all, but we're almost there, so bear with me. After baiting the zombies with a car horn, Akira makes his way into the building. The show doesn't waste any time on them fighting each other, and honestly, that's a good thing, as it amplified this absolute suddenness of Akira's first reaction toward his friend. It wasn't a hug, or in the more typical guy's ways, a handshake. Instead, Akira immensely surprises me and tells his friend everything that has been locked within his heart.
それどころか楽しそうなお前に勝手に嫉妬してイライラして八つ当たりしてごめん
本当にごめん
The moment was so full of emotion, for what is essentially is a young man unloading all the weight that has been locked within his mind and heart for years since their previous departure. It's a moment that felt almost too real, and at that moment, I didn't think the show could get any more gut-punchingly honest. But man, I couldn't have been more wrong. The show sets a dramatic stage, stuck on a rooftop with zombies right behind them. The situation had seemed bleak, when all of a sudden, Akira makes a death-defying jump onto the next building.
大丈夫か
Right after, the animators brilliantly choose to darken the atmosphere and the area to set an ambience needed to draw special attention to what is perhaps this episode's defining moment. As Kencho realizes he can't make the jump, for the first time, he's able to tear down the walls, previously unallowing him to be honest with his friend.
美人のモデルをものにしても会食してもちっとも嬉しくなんかなかったんだなあアキラ俺見え張ってたんだ虚しさをごまかそうとしてペラペラ自慢話ばっかして嫌なやつで俺の方こそごめん本当にごめん
Well, I may have only covered 3 episodes, especially since that's how many episodes have aired since the writing of the script. The show becomes more clear with each episode of what the author actually wants you to take from it, and that is to remember death. When it comes to death, it tends to have a lot of negative words associated with it, usually words like anger, sadness, and grief, and because of that, we naturally tend to avoid the idea of ourselves or someone close to us dying. But instead, the author wants us to embrace that idea, because by learning to be okay with the fact that we all inevitably die, it forces us to think about our current lives. Does what you do bring you fulfillment, or do you spend enough time with those you cherish? This is a show that truly taught me something valuable. In the end, we all die. But despite the grimness of that knowledge, it can provide you and me the opportunity to view the world through a different lens. A lens that essentially just provides us the opportunity to live our current lives as honest and loving with one another while we still can't. Oh, and apparently we should do this while we're butt naked too, it seems.